Today, Jerome Powell, who is the chair of the U.S. Federal Reserve, spoke about the future of the Fed and their plans to get inflation under control. CPI is coming this Thursday, so it'll be interesting to see what the Fed plans to do in regards to inflation and interest rates. Tiff Macklem, the governor of the Bank of Canada, also spoke today, and one of his key points was the cost of making the move towards more sustainable and a greener economy. Lastly, Australian interest rate numbers will be released tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States. All right, everybody, here we go. Let's go ahead and jump into the market heat map and see how our assets are trending so far today. Starting off right here with our major US dollar pairs. As we know, Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve, spoke today. He talked about a couple different things. One of his main points was inflation and what his plans are for that. He didn't say what exactly is going to happen on Thursday when it comes to CPI and new interest rates. However, he did say that in the short term, he may have to do things that Americans do not like in the short term, which could mean raising interest rates for the overall long-term benefit of the U.S. economy. But let's go ahead and take a look at how these pairs have been trending so far today. Aussie US is our biggest mover to the downside when it comes to our US dollar pairs, down 0.42% on the day so far. And I was taking a look at this a little bit earlier, and this has definitely shifted from what I was taking a look at earlier. Earlier we had more pairs up, and they were up even higher. They have shot back down just a little bit today. NZD USD down again. That was not down earlier. So the Edge Finder is, the Edge Finder gets updated hourly, and in some instances, like the market heat map, it's getting updated even quicker than that. Things can change very quickly here in the Edge Finder, but overall, it keeps you super up to date with everything that's going on, whether it's smart money data, retail sentiment, fundamental data, daily charts, and the market heat map, and lots of other things. Economic news, like right here, this economic news tab shows you tons of different news events and the different currencies that it impacts, what the news event is, the times of the news event, how much it is projected to affect a currency. So if you want the Edge Finder, you can find a link to it down in the description below. You can use code A1YT for a discount at checkout. Again, use code A1YT for a discount at checkout on the Edge Finder. Go ahead and try it out today because it is a super useful trading tool for all traders. But let's keep moving on. Our major indices. The JP225 is up pretty heavily today, up 0.78% on the day so far. Our US indices, and like I said, I know I literally just talked about this, but just a couple minutes ago, the US 30 and the S&P 500 were both down, just down a little bit. So they have shifted towards the upside a little bit again. So not like a crazy movement. They were down around the same range, around 0.1%, or maybe even less than that, but have now shifted into the positive side on the day again so far. But US 30, S&P 500, and the NASDAQ 100, our major US indices here, are in the green so far today. UK 100 and German 30 are down on the day so far. We can see here that the US 10Y is actually our biggest mover to the upside so far today out of all of our assets. We have all of our assets listed right here, up 10.1% on, or excuse me, 2.1% on the day so far. I can see oil right here up 0.46% on the day so far. And how about gold? XAU USD. Looking for XAU USD. I skipped. There it is. 0.21% on the day so far. What's our biggest mover to the downside? The UK 100 is actually our biggest mover to the downside, down 0.42% on the day so far. The euro, all of our euro pairs are up at the moment. Euro AUD being the biggest mover to the upside so far, up 0.51% on the day, and Euro USD being up only 0.06% on the day. Most of our pound pairs moving to the downside. GBP USD down 0.24%, but Euro GBP up 0.33%. That's our biggest mover to the upside and the downside. Our yen pairs are mostly up on the day. We have these four in the positive and these three in the negative. Aussie JPY down 0.31%, Euro JPY up 0.16%. Swiss franc pairs, again, pretty split, but mostly towards the upside. These 4 are in the green and these 3 are in the negative. Aussie CHF down 0.26% on the day. USD CHF up 0.15% on the day. Australian dollar pairs mostly shooting to the downside. Aussie US down 0.42%. Euro AUD up 0.51 like we mentioned. And lastly, New Zealand dollar pairs mostly moving to the downside. These 4 right here in the negative so far today. These 3 are in the positive. Euro NZD 0.17% up. Aussie NZD down 0.31%. All right, let's see. Let's get into the watch list and take a look at our buy and sell signals that we have so far today. And if we take away our indices and commodities, just so that we're left with our currency pairs only, we are left with 4 buys and a couple sells, 2 strong sells, Aussie NZD and GBP NZD, both strong sells, scores of -6. And CHF JPY is not a strong buy, not yet at least, sitting here with a solid score of a +5. So I took a look at GBP NZD yesterday, strong score, sell score of -6. That was the same score that it had yesterday. CHF JPY has moved up a little bit to a nice solid score of a +5. So because we took a look at a sell yesterday, I think we're going to take a look at a buy today. And that is going to be CHF JPY with our score of +5. So let's see, CHF JPY, oops. That's CAD JPY, CHF JPY, there we go. CHF JPY overall score of +5. We have our COT data and our retail sentiment right here, both with scores of +1. And we can take a look at our sentiment section right down here. COT data is what we're taking a look at, and that of course is institutional trader data. This is what the big money hedge fund guys, the guys who are getting paid to trade, this is what they're buying and selling. So we can see that the yen is 26% long and 74% short from institutional traders. So they are fairly heavily favored short on the yen at the moment, and 41.15% long and 58.85% short when it comes to the Swiss franc. So they're kind of 50-50. We don't consider something to be long or short bias until it crosses over a 60% threshold. So CHF knocking on the door of being favored on the short side. However, because we don't actually consider it to be scored on the short side because it has not crossed 60%, it is still kind of sitting in that neutral area, close to a 50-50 bias. But we can see here for retail traders, 26% long, 74% short. Retail traders clearly favored short on the pair as a whole, and that is giving us that +1 score there as well. I'll mention right here that the scanner output summary is a written summary of why we score all these things the way that we do. So essentially, when retail traders are going short, we tend to go long, and when retail traders are going long, we tend to short. But when institutional traders are leaning one way or the other, oftentimes we tend to follow what they're doing. So they are shorting the Japanese yen. We don't technically have a bias on the Swiss franc, and that is what's giving us this +1 score right here. If we take a look at seasonality, the last 10-year averages and last 5-year averages, we can see are just barely above or just on this neutral line right here. So meaning, historically speaking, this pair tends to do just okay in the month of January. Nothing too crazy, but it doesn't really do poorly. It's not very bearish in the month of January. We can see the current year average is not totally lining up with that. It's actually down somewhat significantly to start the month, but perhaps turning that around and following kind of in this trend of being a little bit bullish in the month of January. Our trend reading is a score of -2, and we can see here that what's probably giving it that score of -2 is this super strong downward move right here. We see that from December 29th all the way to January 4th, price just absolutely plummeted. So what we're looking at here with trend reading, it just scores how this pair has been trending the past couple of weeks. So because price shot down so hard from December 29th to January 4th, it's giving us a low trend reading score. Price forecast does say that it could potentially keep going down, trending downward, again, probably because it's following in suit with this right here. But based on COT data, based on retail sentiment, and based on this fundamental analysis here, these are all looking bullish. So again, you have to take aspects of the Edge Finder and apply them to your own trading strategy. Take a look at the chart and see what you think that it's going to do yourself. The Edge Finder is a super useful tool for giving you all of this data in one spot to help you make educated decisions on which way things will go in the market. So yes, recently speaking, it has trended downward and made some strong downward moves, but fundamentally speaking, COT data, retail sentiment, historically speaking, when we're talking seasonality, all of these things are pointing towards a bullish bias. Speaking of fundamentals, we can see GDP growth, inflation, unemployment, and interest rates all have scores of +1, meaning that the Swiss franc is beating out the Japanese yen in all of these fundamental metrics right here. So let's go ahead and take a look at those numbers. We can see that Japanese GDP growth currently sits at -0.2% compared to Swiss 0.2%. Japan's unemployment is at 2.5% compared to Swiss 2.1%. Japan's inflation 3.8% compared to Swiss 2.8% inflation. And lastly, Japanese interest rates currently sitting at -0.1% compared to the Swiss 1% inflation. So again, just to recap, our COT data is pointing us in a bullish direction. Our retail sentiment is pointing us in a bullish direction. Our seasonality says that historically speaking, this pair typically does not look very bearish in the month of January. Our fundamentals are looking incredibly bullish right here, but trend reading wise, it has made some low moves. It has shot back up. Price forecast is projecting that it could potentially go back down. However, this is just a forecast. These are the facts right here. We have fundamental looking bullish. We have our COT data and retail sentiment. This is just straight up data. This is a prediction. So you have to line up what you see in the Edge Finder with your own trading strategy and what you see in the charts to make an educated decision on whether or not to buy or sell.
It's been an awesome tool, just for everyday trading. So I want to actually go to the Edge Finder here, and we're going to go look at the strong buys, strong sells, and buys and sells and see what we've got. So CHF JPY, this is a trade setup that we talked about yesterday, and look at that, NZD CAD continues to fly higher. Swiss yen, let's see, where are we at with this one? So Swiss yen, what we've talked about is this one gets a bias to the upside from the Edge Finder. The problem is, though, that we're kind of choppy, right? We haven't been able to clean break through levels of resistance. What I mentioned is that, like, if I was to get long, what I need to see on a technical analysis perspective, Edge Finder is saying, hey, this looks potentially bullish. What I'd like to see is a clean break, pullbacks, and then looking for the opportunity to get long. So yes, I have a bullish bias, but I'm waiting for the technicals to line up, if that makes sense. If the price is high to you, I understand. You don't have to get it. I mean, to be completely honest, I'm not trying to complain, but we've spent, tremendous amounts of money building it. So it helps cover our costs. We invest almost everything that we make on the Edge Finder. We are throwing back into developing it further. It has a lot of costs associated with building it. So it does have a cost associated to it. So it's not free, unfortunately. If it is something that you want, if you're serious about it, you can also do payment plans as a backup option, which you can find out more information on our website. Just go to a1trading.com. You can live chat with us on there, whatever works for you. So yeah, I do like it to the upside, like I said, Swiss yen, but it's gotta be on the break and retest opportunity, right?
So the dollar is actually getting some bearishness today, right? So let's start with the DXY, because this is going to help us with all those USD based pairs. All right, and the DXY is bearish, like bottom line. And I've been talking about this. I even posted this on my Instagram story, and I posted this in the Discord. And I've been looking at dollar bearishness. I just haven't gotten the setup yet to actually take any action on it, right? But basically what we had happen was, if we zoom out here to like the daily chart, we had this push up. We tapped into this kind of daily resistance right here, and then we had a massive rejection. As you can see, we're in a downtrend on the dollar, right? The dollar is in a downtrend. The dollar is weak. So right now, I think looking at dollar downside makes the most sense. here just looking at the technicals. Then what happened is we entered into a range, right? So we had a range, we had range highs, we had range lows. We pushed up to these highs, we broke back into the range, right? Then we had this little mid-range level that we were floating around at. Now we broke through the bottom of the range. So now what we actually have is a break and a retest of this range here on the DXY. So it'll be interesting to see, right? Do we deviate back up inside this range and push back up to these range highs? Or does the dollar actually make a push down for this lower demand that I think we could come and test, right? Because below this level, the DXY really doesn't have any significant demand until down here around like 101.500, I'd say is like the median of where I think the dollar could be heading to, right? So if the dollar gets this big push down, like I think it might, there should be some good selling opportunities on the dollar. So that leads us to these dollar cross pairs. You know, maybe even right now there's some good opportunities. If I wasn't already in a trade, then maybe I would be right. Maybe I would be looking to take an entry here. If the edge finder has a sell rating on technicals, it has a sell bias. I'll answer your question in a second, Christian. Hold one second. I do want to finish my analysis on the DXY. All right, so the DXY looking pretty bearish, and I do think we can get more downside, right? We have the right confirmations. If we even go ahead and look here at this lower time frame hourly kind of structure, from the swing highs to the swing lows, we got that 618 retrace, right? So the dollar is looking bearish. I do think that there could be more downside on the horizon.
Make sure you guys check out the links in the description if you need broker recommendations, access to our free Discord, or want to chat with us on Telegram. If you're interested in our trading software, the Edge Finder, you can find that in the description as well. Thanks for watching.